Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. This is your erstwhile host, MagMongoSlade. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw, which is the worst Monday Night Raw of the Triple H era. It was absolutely boring. But it's a holiday Raw, so they felt like they could have just kind of let it ride. That doesn't mean that there was nothing good on the show. It just means that, the crowd was kind of low energy. The show was kind of low energy. There was far too many video packages for Clash at the Castle. I mean, good Lord. They basically showed the entire show. So if you didn't see it, for Christ's sake, you didn't need to watch it now. They damn near showed everything. But let's get into the show. September the 5th, 2022. We start the show with Edge. Edge starts the show talking about Dominik Mysterio. He's known Dominik since Dominik was 5. He talked about the relationship between him and Ray, where he stayed at Ray's house when they worked in San Diego, where they would do shows in San Diego, rather. He helped Dominik when he worked his first match in front of a live crowd by helping him calm down. He always considered Dominik a nephew, but unfortunately, Dominik doesn't see him as an uncle. Then said that if all of this crap is about the spear, it was an accident. But he was never worried about Dominik because in the back of his mind, he was always his nephew, Dominik. He was going to get over it. He said he didn't come back to drive a wedge between Dominik and his dad. He came back to help the Mysterios because Judgment Day is his fault. He put them together. But if Dominik wants to be the man that he is now, Dominik is a WWE superstar, and he steps in a man's game. And this man's game has consequences. Therefore, he's going to beat that ass. And I love this. I like this because that is very uncle of Edge. He's positioning himself as an uncle, and your uncle is not your dad. For some people, it's a similarity between the two. For some people, their uncle is the only one they got, but your uncle isn't your dad. He's a role model, but he's decidedly not your dad. So your uncle will beat your ass. Your father will, spank you and has that sort of relationship with you. But the uncle is, punch you in the chest, might put a knot on your head or something like that. Your uncle is also more likely the guy that's going to give you your first beer. One of my uncles, he gave me my first sip of Hennessy. I think I might have been like 12. It probably wasn't the right thing to do. But uncles and dads are different. So I like that relationship that they're setting up, that Edge is going to treat Dominik as an adult. Dominik fucked up. He's got to get these hands. It's uncle behavior. Uncle will fuck you up. Dad, however, comes out. We get Ray. So Ray comes out and he's like, okay, look, I am offering you an apology on Dominik's behalf. I was like, oh my goodness. So Edge continues his Uncle Edge stuff. He's old enough to drink. He's old enough to drive. He's old enough to wrestle. He's going to get these hands. Call Dominik out again. Ray is like, oh, come on, man. Let's try to look past this. He's me son. Mi niño. I called him a bambino before, and people in the comment section were like, that's not even Spanish. Like, it's not trying for it to be. All right, I got stumbled there, so fuck it. Anyway, I like the situation between Ray here. Ray is being easily the most likable guy in the world. He knows his son is out of line. So he's like, look, I'm going to apologize on my son's behalf. Dominik is his responsibility. He still sees Dominik as his responsibility. That's his son. So we're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let, Edge fight Dominik. We're not going to let this happen, even though Dominik kicked Edge in the balls. So at this point, I'm really good with what's going on here. At this point, Rhea Ripley comes out. I'm like, okay, what does she want? This forever feud between the Mysterios and the Judgment Day. So she says that it is not Edge's job to replace Dominik and not Ray's job to protect Dominik because he's not Ray's baby boy anymore. She's going to turn him into a man. And so Dominik comes out and he looks absolutely ridiculous. He looks ridiculous. He dyed his hair It's slick back, greased. He's wearing he looked like he's wearing a prison jumpsuit. He's emotionless, lacking in any charisma or character or anything. But he's under the thumb of Rhea Ripley, which is, it really makes the finish at Clash at the Castle make less sense, because it's like Judgment Day lost. If he was going to join Judgment Day, why did he not help Judgment Day win? He should have helped them win instead of, costing them the match. It's silly. It's another one of those things where, similar to Edge beating Finn Balor, and then he recruited Finn Balor after he beat him. I guess this is the Judgment Day thing. You beat us and then you join us. I don't know why. Why would you do that? I don't know. But Dominik he's there. He's present. And Ray is like, oh no! He's having fits. He gets out of the ring. He tries to talk to Dominik. He tells Dominik to snap out of it, not to listen to Rhea. And Rhea says, look, he's not listening to you. You can't fight his battles for him anymore. And then Ray, speaking to Dominik in Spanish, he's trying to talk to him. Dominik is, avoiding eye contact, not even looking at him, not even addressing him. And so Ray gets frustrated and he leaves. At this point, the audience is chanting Eddie's son at Dominik. And they're going to have to address that eventually. They're going to have to address that eventually. So, Dominik and Rhea are in front of Edge, which of course leads to the attack behind Edge of Finn Balor and Damien Priest. The big fight happens. Ray doesn't show up. I mean, it's not until they've destroyed Edge's leg with a Pillmanized, stomp from the top rope with a chair. There was decidedly zero fan reaction for this. There was little to no fan reaction for this because they've beaten the Judgment Day to death. They have no heat. Even this, turn of Dominik Mysterio, it's not enough. You haven't, they're not a threat. You've destroyed Judgment Day as a threat. They just lost so much. You can't see them as a threat. So, and plus this is kind of repetitive, Edge is a stupid babyface for focusing on Rhea and Dominik without realizing that there's two other guys. It's like, okay, clearly there's two more dudes. He should have, and it's not like you just started fighting these guys. You've been fighting these guys for months already. You knew they were going to attack you from behind. Come on. And then Ray took forever to get back out there, which made him look like a putz too, because he left Edge out there to get jumped by all four of them. It just wasn't a good deal. It just wasn't good. So I liked the Edge and Mysterio part, not so much everything else. Dominik not really changing his look. Well, changing his look rather, but not really. Now he's in his pupil stage. I'm sure this is not how he's going to look for, the next month or whatever. They're going to eventually find a look for him. So they just kind of stripped him of the Mysterio stuff and put him in black. I'm going to hold off until he actually starts, talking and doing stuff. But, so there's that. And the plan, of course, is for Dominik to wrestle Edge next week. That was the plan before they Pillmanized Edge's leg. So later, Rey Mysterio is backstage and he reiterates that he loves his son and he will not, under any circumstances, fight his son. He will never lay hands on his son, which is exactly what I wanted to hear. And he says Judgment Day is dedicated to tearing his life apart, but he's not going to let it happen. He's not going to let it happen. He doesn't care which member of Judgment Day it is. He wants one of them in a match, one-on-one, tonight. And he has to fight them by himself, of course, because Edge is not there. And apparently nobody else is interested in helping him fight Judgment Day. So they picked Damien Priest. I would have thought Dominik Mysterio would have been a better choice. It seemed like that would have been the right thing to do. Is to say you were willing to fight any member of Judgment Day. We picked Dominik Mysterio. And then Dominik goes in the ring and Ray refuses to fight him. And then we probably have Dominik pull a cane and, beat Rhea above the head and neck and just leave him there. Or maybe even pin him. And Dominik beats Rey when Rey doesn't even fight back. Or he gets disqualified or whatever, however you want to do it. And that's how we kind of get the heat out of this thing. Because the people are just kind of decidedly uninterested in every member of Judgment Day. Because, again, they've been beaten like drums to this point. But Damien Priest and Rey Mysterio, they have a pretty solid match. Damien Priest wins after a lot of Judgment Day distractions. Rhea gets on the microphone again and says, good Lord. This is where she made the official challenge to Dominik for Dominik versus Edge. And she says what Papi wants, Papi gets, which is incredibly gross. And they're leaning into it, which I kind of joked and said that they probably should. That was a joke on my part. My bad. I was joking that they should lean into it and Dominik should dress up like a gimp, or whatever. we just shooting this shit over this wrestling thing. I didn't know they was gonna listen to the show and decide that that's what they were gonna do. They're gonna call Rhea Ripley Papi, but I'm glad that there's nothing sexual between the two of them. It's just like she's like his puppet master, If she puts him on a leash or something like that, we might have a problem. But so far, there's nothing sexual between the two of them. He's just listening to her, and clearly, you have to figure out why. What is it about her that is so interesting to him? But we can explain that some other time. So the Judgment Day stuff. Look, as much as I like Judgment Day, I think that they've beaten them like a drum, and of course they've lost any and all real interest or heat into what they're doing. Even trying to get Edge to wrestle matches on TV is still not gaining the right amount of interest in what's going on here. So it's real unfortunate, but we're stuck with what we're stuck with. All right, so The Miz. We got Miz stuff. The Miz has a flipped over car backstage. That was disturbing. He, of course, continues to explain throughout the night why he refuses to talk about Dexter Loomis and his kidnapping, and why he wanted Bobby Lashley in a steel cage. He wants the steel cage match to protect him from Dexter Loomis, essentially, but he won't say that. He just keeps saying that he had Bobby Lashley beaten till Dexter Loomis, or the he who shall not be named, distracted him. Tommaso Ciampa has his name back, which I guess Tommaso is a unique name. I've never heard anything like it before, so maybe that'll get people to stick with it. That might help him get over, actually, because he has such a unique name. But it's very weird. Ciampa, of course, keeps calling Miz Mike. He refuses to call him Miz. He always calls him Mike. I guess it's supposed to be on a first name basis. Or that they're really good friends, so he's calling him Mike. But tonight, the cage match is about proving that Mike is better than Lashley. And Miz says he doesn't want any distractions when he wins the United States Championship. Lashley, in his only showing of the entire evening, says that when this door closes, the door of the steel cage, the only person Miz should be afraid of is him. Because he's not sure why Miz is so afraid of Dexter Loomis. So they have the match for the United States Championship in the main event of the show. Miz versus Bobby Lashley, steel cage match. Tommaso Ciampa is doing as much work outside the ring as Miz is doing inside the ring. I'm talking a lot of work. Now, they did something that was pretty smart. Miz snatches the United States title, bangs it off of Lashley's head, and then we immediately go into the elongated heat spot. Because the bell didn't ring yet, Miz shuffles Lashley outside the ring. They throw him to the barricade. They throw him into the cage a bunch of times. And then they get the metal stairs and crush his arm against the ring post, or the cage post and the stairs. So you've created a weakness to get people to believe and to buy in on Lashley losing. So this is this is fine. It's still kind of silly that they're even having a cage match because Lashley has defeated Miz pretty soundly in a bunch of other matches. But having Ciampa outside the ring creates this unfair advantage, which is actually pretty good. So at one point, Ciampa is just bashing Lashley in the head with the door. They're doing a lot of stuff to get in some legitimate, really good heat. At one point, Lashley is pretty much flattened. He's out. Miz decides to climb over the cage in order to escape to win. He looks down. There's a great camera angle of Dexter Loomis looking up. Miz is frightened, climbs back over the cage. Dexter Loomis, as he climbs back over the cage, Dexter Loomis is climbing up. He turns around, gets speared, gets pinned. Lashley wins. And then Dexter Loomis climbs the cage, gets in the cage. I think, if I remember correctly, Lashley took out Ciampa or chased him off or something, leaving Miz alone in the cage with Dexter Loomis, where he got put into the silence chokehold. And Corey Graves has an absolute conniption outside the ring about somebody needs to do something. Somebody got to help this guy. And it's like, no, it's over. The crowd kind of liked the appearance of Dexter Loomis when he popped up from under the ring. That was interesting, but they weren't really into him stalking the Miz or him choking the Miz out. I mean, this crowd was just not good tonight. But then again, the crowd didn't get a lot to be excited for, but the crowd still wasn't very good tonight. This match was, it was a thing, I guess. I didn't like it. Didn't necessarily disliked it. I just feel like the Miz is kind of in the same boat as Judgment Day, where he's just been beat so much. He's not a legitimate physical threat, but this was a story. They're still building the heat with Ciampa. They're letting Miz be the shield so that Ciampa can get the heat. And it's working, I think. Their little partnership is actually working. So I don't mind it. I don't mind it too much. All right. Number one contender for the tag team championship, Street Profits, Alpha Academy, New Day, Los Lotharios. Some people seem to believe that because two SmackDown teams are on here, that this means that the brand extension is over. Of course, they forgot that the Usos have both sets of titles, so you gotta have eventually. There's gonna be some crossover because the Usos have both sets of belts. So does it really matter if the New Day pop up on Raw? Because if they win the titles, they have to be on Raw anyway. So whatever. We have this match, and I was dumbfounded by the choices because I think every team on this list has lost the last match they were in. Like Los Lotharios, I'm pretty sure they lost the last match they were in. Alpha Academy, I'm almost certain they lost the last match they were in. New Day just lost to the Viking Raiders. Why are they in this match? And the Street Profits, I think they had the 6-man tag yet or the 8-man tag yet with Hit Row. I don't think so. Well, maybe I don't think I mean tag matches, because I think the Street Profits did win the kickoff show for Clash at the Castle. They were teaming up with Madcap Moss, I believe. So I think they got a win recently, but most of these teams had not won anything. Like, they didn't win a damn thing. Why you pick these teams of all the teams? Weird decision making, and in a fatal 4-way at that. So the match is interrupted by the return of Braun Strowman. It was actually announced a couple of days prior, that Braun Strowman was going to be on Monday Night Raw. And he pops up and he beats up everybody. He slips and falls. I mean, imagine the Juggernaut from X-Men with, Crisco under his boots. You're like, whoop, 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 whoop. Whoop, 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 whoop. They're like, oh, God. Ugh. On a positive note, he was the one thing all evening that woke the crowd up. They got the crowd alive and got the crowd to move and shake and do something. They were very excited to see him. He's very over with the casuals, so it was the right thing to do to bring him back. They were into the whole running around the ring thing. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it done without slipping and embarrassing everybody. Not exactly a good look for your big return to slip outside the ring and fall down. I mean, Braun Strowman. Oh boy. So I'm not mad that Braun Strowman is back. I actually don't mind that Braun Strowman is back. He beat the tar out of these guys. He smashed Otis through the barricade, slammed Dawkins through the table, just repeatedly destroyed these fellas. And it wasn't bad. I'm glad that he's back. He says that he will be on SmackDown. The monster of all monsters is back. And we'll see him on SmackDown. Nobody is safe. So I like this. I like that Braun Strowman's back. He's a legitimate threat. If booked correctly, he could be a top guy. Vince insists, like, Vince has those weird things where he insists on a guy. And then when the guy finally gets good, Vince is kind of like already soured on him. Like, I think I said it at Clash of the Castle, but we was talking about this about Sheamus. When nobody cared to see fucking Sheamus and nobody gave a fuck about Sheamus, Vince was pushing Sheamus hard. He was selling you Sheamus by the bundle. Sheamus is beating Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania in 42 seconds or whatever it was, 12 seconds or whatever. He beat him again the next month in a 2 out of 3 falls match. He's beating everybody possible. He's beating the Big Show every single week. He's beating Del Rio every week. And this is when Sheamus has no character. He's boring as fuck. He's not interesting at all. So by the time he actually starts getting good, though, all Vince wants to do is put him in tag teams and have him go, "Oi, look at me little jacket. Look at me little hat." And that's about it. It's like, whoa, Sheamus is actually good now. It took a while, but he's actually good now. Why are we not, pushing him? It's like you pushed him so heavily when he was the shits. Like you pushed him very heavily when he was green and boring. And Braun Strowman, it was similar. They pushed Braun Strowman a lot more when he was green and he didn't have his own voice. He didn't have a character. They were really serious about, pushing him. And then he got into some monsterish shape. He actually started really getting over, and he couldn't get over that Roman Reigns hump. He just kept fighting Roman and Brock and losing. And I'm not one of those people who think that you absolutely need to win. But I just think in a situation with both Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe, because people believed in them so heavily, they needed to win, And I don't think it would have hurt Brock if Braun Strowman would have beat him. It wouldn't have hurt him at all. It wouldn't have hurt Roman for Braun Strowman to beat him. Braun is a legitimate big fucking guy. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, Vince fucked him over," but he didn't. It was the only reason why even Braun Strowman was as popular as he was is because Vince saw the size in him and saw his personality and saw that he could do things. But Vince just turned him into the next Big Show, which is a mistake. That was the mistake. If Triple H can avoid doing that, everything will be great. We need more than guys who just breathe heavy and Hulk, though. So I know that, that's kind of what everybody wants from Braun Strowman, but we already have Karrion Kross doing that. Being the big guy who, I guess not the 1980s anymore, where, that can be okay for a character. We need more than that. Maybe they'll be smart and they'll put Braun Strowman either in a faction or they'll give him a manager, because that would be nice. I always thought that there was something missing there, where he's a guy who probably could use a handler, and I think Bray Wyatt was perfect for that role, as being the guy who was the guy who was in control of the monster. All right, so now that Braun Strowman is here, he's not at Control Your Narrative. And look, to be quite honest, EC3 jumped ship to the NWA weeks ago. He joined the NWA. I was pretty sure that was the what everybody kind of saw, that something is going wrong here. That Control Your Narrative, like, EC3 was against three-letter organizations and their philosophicals about how to do the professional wrestling thing. This is about controlling your narrative and all of his bullshit Jim Jones philosophies. Drink the Kool-Aid. Free your mind. Anyway, he put out a statement right after Braun Strowman made his debut. So I'm going to read the statement. I haven't even read it all myself because I don't give a fuck about control your narrative. I didn't pay it much attention. I was waiting for it to actually make a splash. It never did. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. So now it's dead, I guess. We'll see. So the statement goes, Orlando, Florida, September 5th, 2022. Control your narrative, CYN would like to wish Adam Scherr the best on his return to form as Braun Strowman in the WWE. To, quote, control your narrative is to, quote, tell your story. And the story of Braun Strowman is, quote, unfinished business. May Adam / Braun continue to strike fear into the hearts of his opponents while also doing what motivates him the most, quote, putting smiles on people's faces worldwide. Aww. Adam's ability and value was a catalyst of growth for CYN, allowing an idea to grow into featured content live shows and the prospect of both a domestic tour and weekly episodic television featured on Pro Wrestling TV. With CYN, we hope the fulfillment of helping facilitate the next generation and personal growth leads him to becoming, quote, who he's supposed to be. Control your narrative is not about just one man, but a brand. CYN is, and always will be, a platform for any individual or talent to find, quote, their purpose in the industry. CYN was created to allow named performers the creative freedom to reinvent themselves while also giving new, deserving wrestlers the one thing they desperately seek: opportunity. With CYN, our mission is to create memories, characters, and a platform that will last a lifetime. I remain determined to make CYN a platform where those following their, quote, dream have a place to learn, create, grow, and make a living. Control your narrative will be both a proving ground and an education. CYN exists not just to build better wrestlers, but to build better people. Adam's contributions to both will be missed. With Adam's return to WWE, the vision remains the same, but the immediate future is unknown. This is not a bad thing. To our CYN talent, those that are knocking on the door, to any fan, lover, or hater, or any individual reading, I can assure you only one thing. Everything you ever want is on the other side of the unknown. EC3. Good. Oof. This dude is just sitting in a hot box smelling his own farts. What the fuck? Why would you write this? Why not just say, hey man, Adam, he did a great job. There's parts of this like that are interesting. You know? Like saying, you know, the purpose of CYN is to give, you know, older talent a chance to reinvent themselves and to create some stuff for newer talent. That's your mission statement. Okay, fine, let's do that. But some of this other shit, we didn't need all this. We didn't need. This is a 2-part statement. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, yo. This is 5 paragraphs, yo. You went into the. I don't know if this might not even be notes page material right here. This might be like he legitimately sat down with some little glasses on at a laptop and typed this up. EC3, you're a dork. Let's not do this. You know, I understand you have to make some kind of comments because, you know, this guy who was your partner in creating this organization bailed for more money, no doubt. I mean, this is a business, you know, it is the business. But, you know, I don't know, man. I like the mission statement. You know, I've never seen any of the Control Your Narrative shows. I don't know that much about it. Maybe I'll do an autopsy on it one day when it's officially dead. And doing an autopsy sounds fun. Maybe I should do autopsies of dead wrestling promotions. Because I did have fun doing Wrestling Society X and ECW. Those were fun. maybe I ought to do an autopsy for another dead wrestling organization. Maybe Lucha Underground. That gave me something to do. I like doing research projects from time to time. So I'm sorry, I got distracted. I'm not editing that out either. Fuck it. Sometimes I just think on the square. So you'll know that if I remember to do it, I'll probably do it. It probably won't be done for like 4 months, but whatever. Braun Strowman leaving CYN. If he's not making any fucking money, why would he stick around? I saw some of the pictures from CYN shows. They look like they run in National Guard armories and high school gyms. Not even on the same level as like a Ring of Honor or even a Terminus, you know? So I don't know, man. But they said, I remember EC3 saying they had a secret angel investor and all that kind of shit, and they were going to get on Pro Wrestling TV, or they were going to get on TV. I guess none of that stuff actually happened, and fuck, this guy spent a year and a half of his life fucking around with EC3, trying to be an entrepreneur, and, you know, hopefully some of that stuff actually worked, but he's still young enough. He's not 40 or at least probably a little over 40, if he is 40 at all. I mean, it's time to start, you know, go back and make that money, man. CYN, if it's an idea and it'll still be there when he's done. You know, it'll still be there. So let's all wish CYN the best in his future endeavors and wave bye-bye to it. Bye-bye, CYN. We hardly knew ye. RIP CYN 2021 to 2022. You know, and never can say goodbye. What the fuck? I know somebody had to actually put some thought into this, but Raquel Rodriguez is the next person who comes out after Braun Strowman has his wreckage. And if you don't know, that's his girlfriend. So she's coming out. Now she's smiling for real because she got a real reason to be there. Her boyfriend now is employed again. Hey, that's awesome. You don't have to be the breadwinner in the house anymore. You know, I'm sure he makes more money than she does now. So they're going to wrestle Nikki Ash and Doudrop. This was filler. Damage Control were watching. Nikki removed her mask after they lost because, of course, they lost. I mean, how many losses can they possibly take? They're slowly but surely peeling away at this Nikki Ash and Doudrop thing, which, you know, sometimes you can just rip the Band-Aid right off. I understand, like, I'm a big proponent of storytelling, but when people don't give a fuck, just rip the Band-Aid right off. Like, if somebody actually cared about this team, then you doing the slow change of characters, the frustration backstage, all of this neat stuff, that would add elements to the characters. That would, you know, tease and build anticipation and all that. But nobody gives a fuck about these two. You could shoot these motherfuckers into the sun. You could splatter them up against the wall. Nobody cares. You could do whatever you want to Doudrop. You can tie Doudrop to a wheel and spin it around in a circle, and most people will look and then turn away. And nobody cares. Just rip off the Band-Aid. Have one of them turn on the other one, or they agree to go their separate ways, or they agree to repackage themselves or repurpose themselves or something. And let's just get this shit over with. You know, people don't even have an interest in seeing them lose anymore. There's no, when you are so beat down that there's no value even in you losing, you just have no value at all. Doudrop is somebody, again, if it can change her name simple to just Double D, and I think that works. But ultimately, she is a unique player in that division because nobody else has her body type. And if you're building a roster, you do need a Doudrop. You need, you know, somebody who has a unique body type. And I think that works if you put a manager with her. That's why I think the original idea with Eva Marie worked. You know, the presentation was shit when she was kind of like basically Bertha Faye. That wasn't working. But her teaming up with Eva Marie, that works. Maybe team Doudrop up with somebody else, maybe Lacey Evans or something like that. And that could be a little bit more interesting. But this Nikki and Dewdrop thing, it fucking sucks, and everybody's tired of it. I can't think of a single person that's okay with this. Raquel and Aliyah, they win, which is, it was what it was. Damage Control were actually watching. Later, Damage Control came out to cut a promo. I don't know about the name Damage Control. Have I tortured myself over whether I care about that name or not? Yeah, I probably have. I'm not going to go through it again. It's just Damage Control of what? The women's division, I guess? I don't know. So, they have a promo later in which they say they're going to get a tag team championship match because the wrong girl was pinned. Triple H listening to the internet again. I guess they're going to pin the right girl this time. Or they actually going to put the belts on Damage Control, which is probably what they should have done the first time. However that goes, we'll figure it out. But Dakota Kai talked by saying, we're taking control. And that, look what they did to the best, which is Asuka, Bianca, and Alexa. And what are they going to do to the rest? Io spoke in Japanese before saying they're going to take the tag team titles. Bayley got on the microphone, bragged about pinning Bianca Belair. And the moment she did, Bianca Belair showed up. Bianca Belair challenged Bayley to a match. Bayley said, it's Labor Day. I'm not working today. Which actually got a smattering of claps from the audience because they're like, yeah, I got the day off, so you should too. I'm pissed. I had the day off anyway. Shit. Everybody else got like a 3-day weekend. I got 1 day. Just a fucking holiday. That sucks. I was off today anyway. So Bianca says that it took all 3 of you to take me down. But, without this, meaning the title, you guys control nothing. And they began to walk away. Bayley and her crew, they didn't attack her. Bayley said, look, you got beat one time in like 300 days. And your ego is so fragile, you can't handle it. That's why you came on here to challenge me to a match. But I got nothing to prove. And when I want the title, I'll come and get it. And I was like, why doesn't she want the title? I mean, like, right now, why didn't she want it? But, Bayley's character is always about playing mind games. And that's, sort of the weakness of Bianca Belair, as they've, set in terms of WWE canon, that, Bianca does kind of have a fragile ego. But that's kind of how it would be for people who are super confident. If you shake their confidence, that does lead them to lashing out. If you read about narcissistic personality disorder, those people, that's their problem. And I think I've told you guys this before. And so when a lot of people, they say that Bianca Belair's character is more of a heel character, but I think you can be it's kind of a self-confident babyface. I mean, most of them are anyway, right? But if you learn about like narcissistic personality disorder, you learn about crime, criminal behavior, deviancy or whatever, you'll learn that most criminals have a really high opinion of themselves. Like that's one. I think I read that in a book. I forget what the book is called. I think it's by a guy named Ray Baumeister. I think it's called Evil. I would look. I'm not about to look right now. If it's wrong, I'll correct it some other time. But you learn that people who engage in a lot of deviant behavior, they have a high opinion of themselves, not a low opinion of themselves. People who have a low opinion of themselves, they're suicidal, they hurt themselves. People who have a high opinion of themselves, they will hurt you because you're damaging their ego. So I like that little call there from Bayley. And it shows that, the threads of the characters that they were playing back when she was the Bayley who laughs, is still there, but Bayley was being the super ego at the time. That's why she had all the pictures of her laughing in the background and all that stuff. But this is nice. They're going to play on Bianca's ego. She got embarrassed and they're going to laugh at her. And she's going to, continue to push the issue and likely going to push herself into some kind of trap where she's going to end up losing the belt. Do I want Bayley to win the belt? I don't know where you're going with Bianca. That's the point. Like, there's nobody outside of Rhea. There's nobody really for you to save Bianca having the belt for. But if you give it to Bayley, there's nobody to beat her for it. So, because no baby faces. Well, she got baby faces to wrestle. You know, she could wrestle Asuka or Alexa, and there's some other ones. But there's, you know, so I guess you have a better options for a champion with Bayley. But Bianca will have to win the belt back, right? Because you have Rhea Ripley, who's the only person in Judgment Day who's not taking a bunch of pins. And might be the only one who actually gets over out of the whole fucking group. So, so she would have to get the belt eventually. She can't win it from Bayley. So where is she going to get it from? You know, so, I don't know. We're talking about something that's a while away anyway. So we'll figure that part out when we get there. So maybe they'll put the belt on Bayley. They'll put the tag team titles on Io and Dakota. And they'll have all the gold. I think it's too soon for that. For Damage Control to have all the belts. But they like doing that kind of stuff. And doing it quickly. So we'll see. All right, Austin Theory. He comes out. He botches this promo. He botches this promo up good. Now the question is, and I think this was a pretty good idea. He was selling his jaw after getting punched from Austin Theory, Tyson Fury. And so you don't know if the botches are intended botches or, you know, to sell his jaw and maybe that he's confused, or he is legitimately fucking up in these promos, because this was the worst Austin Theory promo ever. Anyway, he talks about how Crown Jewel didn't go as planned. Of course, he wasn't at Crown Jewel. He was at Clash at the Castle. He tried to play that off, and then, of course, started selling his jaw. Then he said that after he got knocked down, he got back up, and he's glad that Roman is still the champion because he and Roman have some unfinished business. He stumbled over his words some more, then started selling his jaw. Kevin Owens came out there and started a "You got knocked out" chant. You got KO'd. Said that Austin Theory was delusional and that Tyson Fury did him a favor because if he'd have cashed in that Money in the Bank, he would have gotten beat up and lost that opportunity forever. Austin Theory said that Kevin Owens is just jealous. He's climbing the ladder of success while you're struggling to stay relevant. You can't even win a title. He feels bad for Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens says that, you know, he is always trying to find ways to stay relevant. That's why he's Kevin Owens. And that he's only the winner of the Money in the Bank because Kevin Owens wasn't in the match. Then they go through the obligatory, this is the part, you know, Kevin Owens breaking the fourth wall. This is the part where a referee comes to the ring, and this is the part where a guy, yeah, that's me. I'm the guy who's going to say, ring the bell, let's fight. And I'm like, Bubba Ray Owens. Bam Bam Owens. Big John Owens. Wide Body Owens. Good Lord. Bubba Ray Owens. Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory. Kevin Owens beats this guy, beats him clean. They did a spot in this match that really pissed me off. Austin Theory grabbed Kevin Owens and slammed him back head into the steps. Boom. It looked violent. It looked vicious. In a perfect world, that writes you off TV. You know? But in this match, you still win the match anyway, so there you go. He won the match anyway. So, because fuck you, Austin Theory. This guy has not won a match since he won the briefcase. I don't think he's won a single match since. I think he probably pinned Dolph Ziggler, and that was it. Just because he wants the Money in the Bank doesn't mean he should just go on an absolute losing streak and just lose to every motherfucker on the roster. You know, come on. Like, I don't understand that. And I wish I could be and go into WWE and sit and listen to them explain why a guy who has the Money in the Bank briefcase, because if that's going to be the case, I don't fucking want it. I think they started doing the same thing with the King of the Ring later on, right? Like the King of the Ring would like constantly fucking lose. And you just be sitting there like, what the fuck was the point of winning King of the Ring and you constantly fucking lose. What was the point? Like, what's the point of the Money in the Bank if you're just, it gives you an excuse to be a jobber? No, it's supposed to be an elevation. He won more matches before he got that fucking briefcase than, it's like when Ricochet became the Intercontinental Champion. It was like, all of a sudden, now he's losing a bunch of fucking matches. It's like, what? He wasn't even on TV before this. Now we're bringing him up just to beat him. It's stupid then, it's stupid now. This is stupid WWE shit. The one positive thing about AEW is they at least try to protect people who have stuff. You know, you want a thing. We want to try to, it is something as silly as that Dynamite Diamond ring. At least they try to protect people who have it. WWE doesn't try to protect any motherfucking body with any motherfucking thing. Guy won the Royal Rumble. We're going to beat him the next month. Like, what? What the fuck is the point? You know, like, I don't know. I don't get it. That's the stupidest fucking thing in the world. Anyway, Austin Theory was not done for the evening. As Johnny Gargano popped up backstage, he was talking about how does it feel to be returned after 9 months, even though he hadn't done anything yet. Austin Theory kind of cut in and said that you've done nothing but talk since you got here. You should change your name to Johnny Talking. He was, of course, still favoring his jaw. And Johnny Gargano was like, look, you got a good point. You know, I haven't done anything but talk since I got here, but you cut me off. I'm going to have my in-ring return next week. So that's what's happening. Johnny Gargano will wrestle, I don't know, he's had less than 5 Raw matches, you know. I think he's probably only had like 2. So he's going to wrestle next week on Raw. They didn't give an opponent. It'll probably be a jobber. Hopefully it's somebody who's smaller than he is. Unless they want to really try to establish that he's a giant killer, then it'd be somebody bigger than he is. I don't know. That's an interesting thing. You know, I wonder, you know, what direction they're going to go in when it comes to Gargano. But Johnny Gargano will wrestle next week. Maybe he's going to beat Austin Theory like everybody else does. I don't know. Let me know. I guess we'll figure it out together. The only other thing left is Riddle and Seth freaking Rollins. And this was just a video package, supposedly after Clash at the Castle, where Seth Rollins said that he's not going to give Riddle a rematch after Riddle basically said that his emotions got the better of him. And he wanted a rematch as soon as possible. So I'm guessing they're about to do this thing where Riddle is going to try to goad Seth Rollins into giving him a rematch by, you know, torturing him, jumping him from behind, talking shit about him or something like that. Okay. I think we all don't mind, you know, Riddle and Seth Rollins going at it one more time. That doesn't bother me none. Overall, though, this Raw was very weak. It was very, very weak. I was actually kind of bored with it in certain parts because there's a lot of people on this show I didn't care about. They didn't start any angles that I cared about either. You know, this was the weakest episode since Triple H took over. You know, and they did a big return, so there was something to talk about. They did the big heel turn from Clash at the Castle. They told that story. So there was some stuff that was worth talking about, some stuff to discuss. But in terms of, you know, the kind of storytelling they were doing with the layers and stuff like that, no, they weren't doing that. I guess they just decided we're going to take a wash on this because people are going to be outside barbecuing. They might not even watch this show. They may just take an L on it. But they did throw a steel cage match on the show, too, to kind of prove to USA, hey, we're trying to do something. In any event, there's no world champion and no tag team champions on Raw. That means that they have to build storylines around personal issues. And what they've done is basically fill that in with returns and quote-unquote surprises, which is the cheapest way to get people to tune into your show, is to promise them instant excitement in the term of there's going to be a return. You're going to see somebody come back from injury. You're going to see somebody come back who hasn't been here for a while. Somebody coming back from being fired or whatever. To me, that's not booking at all. It's not proper pro wrestling storytelling. You know, bringing a guy like Braun Strowman, it seemed like they might be moving him to SmackDown, but bringing a guy like that in and just having him beat up a bunch of guys, it's fine on paper, I guess. But ultimately, I'm just kind of like, can we do a little bit more? You know, let's let it be known what he's back for. That's what I liked about the Cody return. You know, when Cody came to Raw, the very next night after he had his WrestleMania match, Cody set the mission statement. He told the story, why he was there, what he's there for. He ain't leaving until he get it. Now is his chance. I would have liked for Braun Strowman to do the same thing. Why did he leave in the first place? We could kayfabe it and say that, maybe he wasn't fired. Maybe he could say he quit. I went to them and quit because I didn't believe in myself anymore and I wanted carbs or something, I don't know. But just having him come back, beat a bunch of guys up, I mean, that was a cool visual, but he slipped and fell, so he kind of ruined it. But I guess they're going to give us his mission statement on SmackDown. Okay, fine. But I don't want a show based around surprises. I want a show that's based around good storytelling. Triple H got to work on it. But again, it's a Labor Day episode. It probably just didn't give a shit. Hell, most of the writing team probably went home and didn't answer their phone. But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, surprise. Like, share, subscribe. Jesus. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.